Legends wish for what? Rock lost its heartbeat weeks before his death. Death of Ozzy Osbourne, rock's most powerful voice and heavy metal godfather. He died at 76, ending a music era. Ozzy was never merely a musician, storm and revolution he was. A man who ruled pandemonium with fire. His death devastated generations. Fans cried, friends froze, and his family? They felt like time stopped. But the evil prince didn't die quietly. He left loud, fearless, and unforgettable. In his dying weeks, he made a raw, unexpected request that even his closest friends didn't expect. Sharon, his lifelong love, may fulfill his last wish. Raising your thumb with us before we begin honors and remembers the Prince of Darkness. The last weeks were peaceful at home. Their countryside estate's drapes rustled in a gentle wind, but inside, time appeared to slow down, as if the earth was holding its breath. Day after day, Sharon sat by him, holding his hand. Ozzy, formerly rock's wildest voice, now spoke in low tones because his body couldn't keep up with his ideas. Parkinson's was cruel. It snuck into his body at night, stealing strength, control, and movement. That was nasty and unjust. The same man who jumped over stages in black leather and lightning rifts required help sitting up. Some days, he could hardly lift a spoon. In uncommon honesty, he admitted to setting stadiums on fire. He once observed, with a crooked grin, "This body's broken, but the brain's still partying." Every morning, he requested tea. No painkillers, no doctors, just tea and Sharon. They spent hours together, sometimes silent, sometimes lost in time. He wavered between decades. Childhood in Aston, cold, sooty streets, battles, hunger. He laughed at his first gig, afraid, unrehearsed, and electrified. He admired Tony, Geezer, and Bill, the Storm brothers who helped him create the genre. Then his voice would weaken and shatter. He talked about his fiery daughter, Kelly, Jack, rock steady, Amy, even grandchildren, quietly powerful. Almost inaudible, he promised Sharon one night. They'll remember the fire, not the flicker. Sharon bit lip. She carried him through addiction, relapses, and nights of turmoil and brilliance. He had destroyed and rebuilt himself, she saw. Never like this. Never so weak, but so lively. Though the body quit, the guy inside did not. Then came her unforgettable moment. Late June 2025. They watched the estate at nightfall from the window. The sky was reddish. Ozzy stared straight ahead, eyes clearer than in weeks. "I don't want them to remember a wheelchair-bound man," he muttered, "not to be their sadness. I want one last roar." It started here. It went beyond a request, an appeal, a vow, one last rebellion from a man who defied gravity his whole life. No tears from Sharon, not then. Her nod was simple. She had one job, to make a dying desire everlasting. She began calling the next morning, calm ones, strategic. Ozzy could hardly walk, let alone tour. Maybe, just maybe, she could restore his fire for one night. Would a broken body command a stage? Could the Prince of Darkness return one last time? She was unaware. Despite the fading body, Ozzy, fire, and thunder remained, and she would carry his ultimate wish. Over 4 decades, Sharon Osbourne was more than a wife. She was Ozzy's fiercest protector, solidest anchor, and second act architect, the only witness to every storm and resurrection. She'd supported him through bleach-scented hospital corridors, tears-filled interventions, screaming battles, relapsed nightmares, and triumphant comebacks. Chaos was Ozzy. Steely, Sharon. For the first time, roles were reversed. She faced anarchy, and her aim to make a whispered dream a stunning goodbye. She told no one, not even the kids. She guarded it like a secret flame from the wind. Doctors declared it impossible, risky, according to friends. Ozzy, when doubtful, implored her to forget it. "I'm done, Sharon. Don't deceive me," he hollered one night. Just shook her head. "You're incomplete. Not till the music stops." She worked harder than ever behind closed doors. She bargained with management, producers, and medical professionals to approve one night under close monitoring. Every advance was a fight. Sharon never hesitated. She believed that moment was powerful, the release it could give Ozzy and everyone who loved him. She obeyed more than a dying desire. She carried out his final wish. She breathed in his final remaining message, a song. Ozzy could no longer walk without agony, so she helped him practice whispers. She reminded him to keep speaking, even if it cracked, when his lungs struggled. When his handshakes made holding a microphone feel like lifting stone, she placed her hands around his and urged, "Let the world hear your goodbye." Sharon called doctors in LA, coordinated set lists, and begged specialists for permission to harm him during those silent nights. But Ozzy was dying. How he left meant more. Not in quiet in a hospital bed, but as a legend and performer. As her heart broke, Sharon realized it. Sharon didn't just want Ozzy to perform one last time, giving a dying man the decency to choose his end. Let him blaze bright one more time, even if it meant using his last light. It was about returning the Prince of Darkness to the world as a tempest that could still shake the heavens, not as a patient or ghost. His old team was reunited. She chose the stadium. She managed every camera angle, firework, and nighttime moment, with general precision and hurting wife heart. She concealed it, because it was sacred, not surprising. Her farewell gift was more than a concert, a resurrection, thunderous goodbye, and power and anguish requiem. Her voice didn't break when she stood before him, days before the show, clutching the whole plan in quivering hands. It's occurring. July 5th, Birmingham. Your night. You roar. Last time. Ozzy. Through tiredness and years of suffering, a flicker of something nearly heavenly appeared in his weary eyes. A dying man who sings his soul one last time. You must return to understand why that final performance mattered so much. Return to the beginning. Ozzy Osbourne's final wish wasn't only singing, it was about redeeming a broken life and rewriting its final verse with success. His raw, harsh, and uncompromising story was never about celebrity. To survive by sound. Ozzy, born John Michael Osbourne on December 3, 1948, in Aston, a harsh working-class district of Birmingham, was raised in poverty, soot, and factory noise. His residence lacked amenities. His family almost survived. School was difficult for him due to bullying, self-esteem, and an undiagnosed dyslexia that left him adrift. He was 17 and in prison for burglary, sleeping on concrete floors and thinking he had no future. Society had almost written him off. Despite the darkness, he heard music. It wasn't only heard, he relied on it. Music was an escape. Yes, oxygen. In 1968, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward appeared. Black Sabbath, founded by Ozzy, changed music and history. They sound unique on their 1970 debut album. Ominous, primeval, heavy. Critics ignored it, but disillusioned Young heard something real. The sorrow, anarchy, and naked truth in Ozzy's voice gave heavy metal soul. Sabbath is more than a band. It spoke for the rejected, broken, and misunderstood. And Ozzy becomes their prophet. Paranoid, Iron Man, War Pigs, not simply songs. They were war cries for kids feeling invisible. Even as he flew, Ozzy's turmoil never subsided. His demons pursued and harmed his fame. Sabbath sacked him in 1979 for substance misuse and unstable conduct. Most assumed that was it. But Ozzy changed ends. With Randy Rhoads and a new band, he released Blizzard of Oz in 1980, which saved his career and made him a solo legend. An anthem, Crazy Train. The Gothic masterwork Diary of a Madman showed Mr. Crowley was not just surviving, but dominating. His rock voice was unique in its madness, melody, pain, and awe. He relentlessly toured. He stumbled, relapsed, collapsed, and got up. Music was always there. No More Tears showcased his literary profundity and vocal force in 1991. In 1992, Mama, I'm Coming Home became one of metal's most touching ballads. A love letter to Sharon and redemption. He got Grammys. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Sabbath and solo. He acquired a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and one in Birmingham, previously forgotten. Ozzy's influence went beyond music. MTV's The Osbournes exposed him to a new generation in 2002. He invited the world into their crazy, strangely relatable home with Sharon, Jack, and Kelly. Viewers witnessed the Prince of Darkness and a forgetful, amusing, loving father who struggled at home. It was raw, it was funny, revolutionary. Ozzy went beyond rock stardom. Culture idolized him. Despite the prizes, accolades, and headlines, one thing remained constant. His singing never stopped. Not after falls, surgeries, tremors, diagnoses. Not even after revealing his Parkinson's journey in 2020. 4 years have been torture for me. In a candid interview, he described his poor health. Even then, he continued. His 2022 album, Patient Number 9, proved he still ruled charts and hearts. Ozzy Osbourne's legacy goes beyond music. He provided hope to millions of misfits. This is every kid who felt unseen and heard their fury and anguish in his cry. Generations of artists owe their sound, fire, and resistance to the Birmingham man who refused to go quietly. Though entertaining, his music saved, energized, and endured. That's why he requested Sharon for one last performance, not simply nostalgia. A sacred ceremony, a heart that had raged for 50 years stopped. After giving everything to the stage, he asked for something back. That night, as 40,000 people raised their hands and the first chords of Mama, I'm Coming Home boomed around Villa Park. It was history, not just music, a legacy, a life that had transformed anguish into power, noise into purpose, and metal into immortality, ended with that note. One city was central as the world unknowingly approached Ozzy Osbourne's last curtain. Not NYC or LA, but Birmingham. His hometown, birthplace, and heavy metal hotbed. Birmingham remembered more than Ozzy. It embraced him. It extended its arms, streets, and soul to bid him farewell like only a city can to its most renowned son. The summer of Sabbath was a months-long commemoration that turned the industrial city into a living memorial to its most famous voice. Birmingham buzzed with music, murals, and memories in May-July 2025. Ozzy was consecrated and praised. There were tributes everywhere. Ozzy's face was on lamppost banners. Building-sized murals captured his on-stage fire and, off-stage, charisma. One deed, one gesture, stood out. One of the city's main bridges became the Osbourne Bridge. Not just a bridge. It connected a struggling Aston boy to the iconic symbol he became. Fans took selfies, lit candles, and left scribbled notes under the new sign. A meticulously carved bronze statue depicted Ozzy mid-performance, mouth open in defiance, hands lifted in triumph. It was more than an homage. The city confronted its past. Ozzy fled Birmingham, a town that didn't understand him and labeled him a dropout. But in his dying weeks, the city rose up to hold him, praise him, and inadvertently prepare to grieve him. Local radio aired Sabbath classics regularly. School music programs study his work. Thanks to Ozzy, city buses flashed LED signs. The fans followed. They came in waves from the UK, US, South America, and Europe. Some drove days. They flew thousands of miles. They had tattoos, vinyl LPs, and patched leather jackets. Original Paranoid copies were held by elderly fans on canes. Teens had Crazy Train lyrics tattooed on their arms. 3 generations in Ozzy t-shirts stood cheek to shoulder, some crying before reaching the concert gates. The sacred farewell performance site, Villa Park, became a pilgrimage place. Despite banners, music, and hoopla, no one knew what was coming. Sharon, always silent, never hinted that this wasn't a party. Adieu. Close family members noticed something was wrong. Ozzy became quieter in interviews. He moved slower. His smile was intact, but a darkness was there. Birmingham, in all its magnificence and bustle, was unintentionally prepared for a eulogy as well as a concert. The innocence of the excitement made it much more heartbreaking. Children danced to gibberish songs. As Mama, I'm Coming Home, couples hugged, played from surrounding eateries. Strangers told Ozzy stories in bars, buses, and sidewalks. The city was full with memories, music, and promise. A dream that the Prince of Darkness will roar again and keep roaring. Many storms accompany sunsets, and this one was no exception. The Sabbath summer would be remembered as a tribute, a prophecy, and a peaceful prelude to the inconceivable. Birmingham would mourn and honor Ozzy 17 days after that magnificent night at Villa Park. Although he conquered many locations, ruled stages, and broke hearts, only Birmingham fully knew him. More than a concert. Last heartbeat of a legend. Under Villa Park's bright lights on July 5, 2025, 40,000 people witnessed an unforgettable moment. The world had seen Ozzy Osbourne endure pain, illness, and time. Now they would watch him return. Sharon Osbourne. She created a miracle, not just as a wife or boss. She achieved the impossible. She secretly reformed Black Sabbath with Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, the brothers with whom Ozzy started the revolution. That was just the start. Sharon summoned Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Judas Priest, and Anthrax, all of whom Ozzy helped establish. It was named the Return to the Beginning concert. But it was a living requiem, a final play penned by fate and delivered by love. Fans from every continent came waving banners, holding records, and wearing "Thank You, Ozzy" shirts. The live stream reached millions worldwide, yet that stadium appeared to pause time. Ozzy appeared, marking a historic moment. Sitting majestically on a black steel throne, rolled onto the stage like a king returning to his land. The crowd exploded in weeping and thunder. The Prince of Darkness said, "Mama, I'm coming home," his last time on stage. Though worn, his voice rang out like lightning. Each lyric, goodbye. Each note opened a wound. He then sang "Crazy Train," his farewell song. Shivers came from the first riff. The crowd roared and Ozzy smiled. A knowing smile assured me that I belonged here. No huge speech, no protracted goodbye, just a nod, tears, and stillness. Finally, fireworks saluted, not celebrated. It went beyond a concert. The farewell was steel and sound, remembrance and music. Sharon gave Ozzy something no doctor could cure. Neither miracle could. One last chance. This platform was his altar for singing about lunacy, pain, and redemption. Tonight, his forgiveness. As sparks fell from the heavens, he locked eyes with Sharon as if to say, "I'm home. I'm free." July 22nd, 2025, Ozzy Osbourne died 17 days after the world-shaking Back to the Beginning concert. He passed away after electrifying generations, defying death, and turning turmoil into legend. He did not flee in darkness. He went on his own terms, with the plaudits still booming. People who knew him as dad, husband, and Ozzy were at his bedside. Sharon sat silently, holding his hand. With her were their children, Jack, Kelly, and Amy. Room was silent. Silent tears, joined fingers, and a mutual knowledge that he had found peace replaced dramatic farewells and sorrow. Sharon would later recollect him looking at me one final time, her voice cracking, and I knew. He needed no words. He showed it in his eyes. He was ready. The world wasn't. The news that morning shook the world. Millions paused, stunned, from Tokyo to Toronto. Messages, recollections, and tributes flooded social media immediately. Over 60 nations ranked "Thank You Ozzy" as the #1 hashtag. More than a trend, grief and gratitude surged. Fans lit candles, played his music loudly, and held spontaneous vigils outside his former venues. Many felt like they lost their youth, rebellion, and identity. Sir Elton John was among the first to respond, releasing a black-and-white 1980s backstage photo with Ozzy. He was a titan, friend, and rebel poet in leather and eyeliner. "World feels colder today," he wrote. Rod Stewart considered him the nicest, loudest soul. McCartney paid tribute with a simple yet moving remark. "Legends endure. They echo. Ozzy, your legacy endures." Tony Iommi, his bandmate and brother-in-arms for decades, uploaded a photo from their last rehearsal. "I'm shocked," he wrote. "Our wonderful friend Ozzy is gone. Laughter, crazy, song, sharing a lifetime, never again." Rock and roll. Hall of Fame created a full-length tribute video about Ozzy's rise from Birmingham's slums to the world stage. His biggest hits were aired on BBC Radio for 10 hours, interwoven with interviews and fan greetings. ITV's The World Mourns a Legend broke primetime. Ozzy's shadow was projected onto Tower Bridge and Symphony Hall by candlelight. Times Square lit up with a big tribute screen showing his image and "Thank You Ozzy" across the Atlantic. Mourners gathered in cities worldwide. Sao Paulo fans assembled a 1,000-person choir to sing "Mama, I'm Coming Home" in Portuguese. Sunset Boulevard was closed to thousands for an impromptu candlelight vigil in Los Angeles. His name appeared on a big Shibuya digital billboard in Tokyo, amid images of his theatrical performances. Ozzy's voice crossed borders, languages, and governments as clandestine gatherings were conducted in war-torn nations. Misunderstood, forlorn, and rebellious people found solace in his songs. Now, they were returning to say goodbye. Sharon's homage was arguably the most haunting. In a televised interview 3 days after his death, she sat, under a soft light, holding the wedding ring Ozzy gave her almost 40 years before. Her words were few, but every word quiver with sorrow and pride. He wanted more than eternal life. He desired eternal significance, and he does. After holding back tears, she said, "He gave everything, even when he had nothing left." The world understood then. The story continued after Ozzy's death. A timeless ballad ended with this verse. Sharon's voice shook millions of hearts. The world lost more than a rock star. It lost a symbol of perseverance, naked humanity covered in spikes and eyeliner, and a guy who never allowed darkness consume him. Global memorial concerts were announced with musicians of all generations committing to commemorate Ozzy. Metallica are renaming their world tour the Crazy Train Legacy Tour. Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson announced a tribute album of rock luminaries covering Ozzy's greatest hits. In a rare step, the Vatican acknowledged his impact on generations. He impacted humanity with his unusual ways and devotion. Funeral arrangements for Ozzy are still being made. After a private service for family and friends, Birmingham will host a global, live-streamed memorial. Sharon wants fans to light candles and play his songs loud. She stated he wanted noise, not silence. He's still around. His music plays. His legacy endures. His influence permeates every riff, scream, every rule break. Ozzy Osbourne died, yet he lives on. The final notes fade, but one reality remains. Not quietly, he left. He left thundering. The Villa Park concert went beyond charity. It fulfilled a final personal wish. The ultimate wish of Ozzy Osbourne before death. Sharon made it happen. She reunited iconic bandmates, assembled worldwide rock royalty, and overcame medical fears to offer her husband what he wanted most. His final performance in the city that made him, with his fans. It was not a fundraiser. It was about lifting hearts, memories, and commemorating a guy who loved and breathed music until his last breath. Sharon Osbourne silently and powerfully kept Ozzy from dying frail. She made sure he departed as an artist. She fulfilled more than a wish. She preserved a light, accomplished a legacy, and helped a man die peacefully. He remained strong when the stage lights dimmed. He changed. Ozzy may not sing, but his voice echoes louder than ever in stadiums, headphones, and millions of hearts screaming his name. He realized his final whisper, his greatest hope. His life was wild, reckless, and famous, but he died quietly and gracefully. A final bow from the Prince of Darkness, who transformed chaos into empire and misery into power. His legacy goes beyond music. It's about resilience, passion that fires even when the body fails, and true, hard-earned, unshakable love. Thank you for following us. If you're watching, someone may have lost. You may have experienced the indescribable silence after a loved one leaves. Like Sharon, you may have helped in the final hours. Maybe you've held onto one last dream, like Ozzy, sending you strength. Life is unfair, it aches. Always, death feels too soon. Perhaps the comfort is that goodbyes can be lovely when done with love. Let us whisper one final time. Thank you, Ozzy. Hope the next planet is better than this one. May your soul rest painlessly. Have your spirit scream louder than ever. Ozzy, rest in power. We adore you forever.